Picture this. You're walking through an empty park and you spot a forgotten wallet on a bench. Inside, there's a large sum of money. No ID, no security cameras, not a soul in sight. No one would ever know if you took it. It's an easy score. Biologically speaking, claiming an unclaimed resource is the most logical move. Yet, for some reason, your heart starts beating faster. You look over your shoulder. You feel a strange resistance. And most likely, many of you would walk away or try to find the owner. We usually call this conscience. We think of it as something innate, as natural as breathing. But historians and sociologists see something more at play here. What you just felt is a complex social program running, one that has been installed in humanity over thousands of years. This is the story of how we invented the world's most effective police officer and put him inside our own heads. Let's go back to the distant past. For tens of thousands of years, humans lived in very small groups, tribes of 50, maybe 150 people tops. In a world like that, there was no need for police, courts, or prisons. You didn't even need locks on your doors. Why? Because life was completely transparent. Everyone knew everyone. The main regulator of behavior back then was shame. Shame is the fear that others will witness your bad deed. In a small tribe, reputation was a matter of survival. If you stole a piece of meat, everyone found out. You lost respect, people stopped sharing food with you, and in the worst case scenario, you were banished. And for an ancient human, exile meant certain death. Back then, control was always external. People only behaved themselves when they knew others were watching. But then, humanity took a giant leap. We started building cities. Cities brought wealth and comfort, but they also introduced a terrifying problem our brains weren't equipped to handle: anonymity. For the first time in history, humans were surrounded by thousands of strangers. And this is where the ancient mechanism of shame broke down. In a massive crowd, you became invisible. You could cheat a merchant at the market, duck into an alley, pull up your hood, and vanish forever. No one knows you. Your neighbors don't care about you. You could commit a crime and be drinking wine in a tavern on the next street over the very next day. The rulers of early civilizations faced an impossible task. How do you make people obey the laws when the guards aren't looking? Crime spiked, trade became dangerous, and society began to tear at the seams. The obvious solution was to tighten control, hire more guards, build more prisons. But the math was unforgiving. You can't assign a soldier to every citizen. It would bankrupt any treasury. We needed a new kind of peacekeeper, one that didn't need a salary, never slept, and saw everything. And then, in different corners of the world, something remarkable began to happen. Our perception of higher powers shifted. The oldest gods were often like forces of nature, powerful, sometimes capricious. They demanded respect and sacrifices, but they rarely cared about your daily morality. It didn't really matter to them if you were honest with a business partner, as long as you brought your offerings to the altar on time. But gradually, as societies grew more complex, religions began to change. A revolutionary idea emerged. The idea of a God who didn't just demand rituals, but who watched your heart. The concept of omniscience was born. It didn't matter if you hid in a deep cellar. It didn't matter that the night was dark and no human could see your face. A higher power could see, and not only see, but judge. Thus, the concept of sin was born. this was a colossal psychological shift. External control was replaced by internal control. Instead of fearing the city guard, a fear that vanishes the moment the guard turns the corner, people began to fear violating a higher moral law, the fear of staining one's soul. People came to believe that every action had a price, if not in this life, then in the next. This became the glue that held great civilizations together. Humans began to police themselves. We gained an internal cop, conscience. Because of this, complex economics became possible. You could lend money to a stranger on a promissory note, trusting they'd pay it back. You could ship goods to another city, trusting they wouldn't be looted on the way. Our entire system, from banks to traffic laws, relies on the belief that most people will follow the rules voluntarily, even when no one is watching. Many people today think that laws and police are what keep us from chaos. But that's an illusion. There will never be enough police for everyone. Our society is built on the honor system, on that internal feeling that stops us from hurting the weak or stealing, even when it's profitable and safe to do so. It doesn't matter if you're religious or a staunch atheist. This cultural firmware lives in every one of us. A believer calls it the fear of God or piety. A secular person calls it ethics, principles, or empathy. But the mechanism is exactly the same. We learn to be accountable for our actions not to the crowd, but to the truth, to ourselves. So, the next time your hand freezes before taking someone else's wallet, or you stop yourself from lying even when you really want to, remember that is the mechanism at work. The mechanism that thousands of years ago allowed us to stop being just clever primates and become humans. We didn't just build civilization out of stone and steel. We built it out of trust. And as long as that inner voice keeps speaking in our heads, we have a chance to remain human. Thank you for spending these minutes with us. If this story made you think, please support the channel by subscribing. We are already working on the next chapter. What topic do you think we should cover? Let us know below.